Baseball on CSN Chicago is presented by State Farm. Cubs are back home for the week. As I mentioned earlier, 16 of 19 here in the friendly confines. A frigid night tonight as the Cubs welcome in the Milwaukee Brewers. Great to have you with us alongside Jim DeShays. I'm Len Casper. We'll try to stay thawed out here tonight. Wind blowing in off the lake. It is very cold, but you've got a hot Cubs team playing a couple of last place clubs on this homestand.
Yeah, a chance to really improve on this great start with the Brewers and then the Braves, last place clubs in for the week. The pitching matchups are pretty interesting as well. Kyle Hendricks goes against Jimmy Nelson tonight. Nelson's been good. Hendricks is 4-1 with a 145 in his career against the Brewers. Jungmann and Davies, the pitchers scheduled to start tomorrow and then on Thursday, have combined for an ERA of 9, and the Cubs will answer with Arrieta and Lester.
Pretty important homestand here. The Cubs will go to Pittsburgh next week, and then the Nationals come here, so the competition, at least on the schedule, looks to get a lot tougher. Tonight, Jimmy Nelson, Kyle Hendricks, and Anthony Rizzo will try to keep that hot bat going. 2 more homers for him on Sunday in Cincinnati. Cubs baseball is next.
Cubs baseball on CSN Chicago is brought to you in part by your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer, who invites you to test drive a Lexus today. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. Through it all. Ford, inviting you to check out their fuel-efficient lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency. Low fares. Nothing to hide.
Cubs baseball here on CSN. Wind blowing straight in tonight. Feels like a good night to pitch, but we got to go play the game. So Brewers and the Cubs, game 1 of 3 in this series. And now the Milwaukee starting lineup brought to you by Southwest. 20 home runs as a club, but about half those out of the lineup tonight in Scooter Gennett and Ryan Braun. It'll be Santana, VR, Lucroy at the top, Carter, Neuenhuis, and Hill in the middle. Flores, Rivera, and Nelson at the bottom. Yeah, a lot of unfamiliar names in this lineup. We'll get to meet them as the night moves along.
Well, familiar faces in the field for the Cubs tonight. Dexter Fowler's in center. He's flanked by Soler in left, Hayward in right. Around the horn, we'll go Bryant, Russell, Zobrist, Rizzo. David Ross behind the plate tonight. Miguel Montero, a late scratch, got a little bit of a back issue. And our Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher is right-hander Kyle Hendricks. 1 up, 2 down through 3 starts with an ERA of 4. The peripheral is really good. He struck out 15, walked only 3 in 18 innings of work. Closing hitters batting .254 against him. He's allowed only 1 home run. And as I mentioned in our open, 4-1 with a 145 lifetime against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Umpiring crew tonight headed by Larry Vanover, the crew chief. He gets home plate. Alfonso Marquez is at first. Chris Guccione at second. David Rackley is over at third.
Kyle Hendricks, the type of guy players like to play behind on a night like tonight. Works quickly, throws strikes, pitches to contact. Position players don't want to be standing out there for long periods of time on a cold night like tonight. And ball in play, they'll be able to bounce around a little bit and make some plays for Hendricks.
That's the kind of night as Hendricks deals on the outside corner. Strike one. Now, line drives will play. High fly balls will not. And it already looks like the Cubs outfielders have moved in a few steps with that wind gusting straight in from center field. 2 strikes on the Brewers leadoff man. The Brewers come in at 8-11, last place in the division. 6 games behind the first place Cubs, who are 14-5. 13 of their first 19 have been away from Wrigley Field, but a long stretch of home games coming up. There's second-year manager Craig Counsell. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Kyle usually works quickly, but this might be at hyper speed tonight.
Yeah, I think he may ramp it up even a little bit more quickly here tonight. Just great execution of the game plan there, and that's not easy. Sometimes on a cold night like tonight, feel can be an issue, but he was dotting that outside corner, keeping the ball down around the knees. So we saw cutter, sinker, and changeup. All quality pitches in that sequence. Who is this man?
That is Jonathan VR. And he chops one to second base. That's Ben Zobrist. And quickly 2 outs. The air temperature is 40 degrees, but we can tell you firsthand it feels a lot colder than that because of a north wind at 16 miles an hour. The wind chill is 34. I would have a hard time coming up with too many colder nights here in April. And tell you what, there are a lot of people in the seats. Obviously not every ticket buyer is going to be here tonight, but kudos to Cub fans for bundling up and battling the elements tonight.
Yeah, they deserve a tip of the cap. You know, these conditions oftentimes people say, well, it favors the pitchers, and it does, certainly with the wind blowing in. Hitters don't like the cold weather, but who it really favors is the mentally tough, the guys that can put it out of their mind and go out and just perform. Oh my goodness, man, put a ski cap on.
Lucroy with an 8-game hitting streak. He started the year hitting in 7 in a row, had a couple of back-to-back offers, and now has hit in 8 straight. So the Brewers have brought back that old school ball and glove MB logo these last few years. It's a good look. Two and two.
He's been swinging it well. Braun, who's not in the lineup, has been hot. He was just going through a bit of a rebuild, trying to figure out what their core is going to look like going forward.
The ground ball to the second baseman, and another low throw by Zobrist, but no problem for Anthony Rizzo as Hendricks goes 1-2-3, and the Cubs are coming up. The Cubs leadoff man gets a hit. Benny's Beverage Depot will donate $100 to the Greater Chicagoland Food Depository. Now the Cubs Southwest starting lineup. Fowler is that leadoff man leading the majors in on-base percentage. Hayward, Bryant, and Rizzo 2 through 4. Ben Zobrist coming off a couple of off days. He sat out on Sunday. The Cubs 9-0 win in Cincinnati. Soler's in left. Russell the shortstop. David Ross getting the late call with Montero out. And the pitcher Hendricks hitting ninth.
Brewers defensively. Flores, Neuenhuis, Santana left, center, right. Hill, VR, Rivera, Carter around the infield. Jonathan Lucroy rock solid behind the plate. Lexus starting pitcher for the Brew Crew tonight. The big right-hander Jimmy Nelson. He likes the sinker as well as Hendricks. Throws a little bit harder. Get up to 95, 96 at times. He's the one starter that's really throwing well for the Brewers. 3-1 with a 346 earned run average. Their starters with a major league worst 6.11 earned run average.
Two and one on Fowler. He's had 2 full days off after a sizzling start. The flex off the glove of Nelson. Barehanded play. Aaron Hill, a man on the spot. The Brewers, and we'll get into it a little later, they shift about as much as anybody in baseball. It's not what they call it. Optimal positioning is what they call it, but Aaron Hill was right there to make the play.
He was tightened up and well off the line. Do you remember Tennessee Tuxedo?
Yes.
Cartoon? That's what these guys look like with those, that headgear. Or the Singing Nun, or Mother Superior from The Sound of Music. That's the movie I'm trying to think of.
Yes. Big day on Sunday for Jason Hayward. He had 4 hits, knocked in 3. He's got 10 hits over his last 5 games. Swing and a miss.
345 on the road trip, and it could have been a lot better. You think back to that series in St. Louis. He was hanging out a lot of line drives and hard hit balls that were turned into outs. 10 out of his last 20.
One and two.
So Nelson, as I mentioned, likes the sinker. He can get mid-90s. He'll elevate the four-seamer every now and then. He's always had a good slider. Rarely used as a changeup. Picked up a curveball last year, and that proved to be a very important pitch for him. And Brewers have high hopes for this 26-year-old. This is his second full year in the big leagues. Well, I guess what he hopes will be a second full year. Last year made 30 starts, 111, lost 13, had a 4.11 earned run average.
He and Chase Anderson, they're only 2 starters with an ERA below 7. The other 3 have really struggled. Called strike 3 on the inside corner.
Pitcher's pitch, bottom of the knees, right on the corner.
Mind over matter, right? That's what the deal is tonight.
Yeah, I think right now the matter is winning that particular battle. I don't think the mind is fully bought in yet.
Here's Chris Bryant. Big weekend in Cincinnati. 4 games, had 8 hits, knocked in 8 runs. The Cubs took batting practice on the field today, which would not be terribly noteworthy other than the fact that they don't hit a lot in terms of normal batting practice, but I think it's a good idea to actually take BP on a day like this, right? Because you can see how the weather is affecting fly balls.
Yeah, and I think that they shorten the time of each group. They just want to get out and get some swings, and yeah, because sometimes BP turns into a situation where guys are just trying to launch the ball, and that's not going to serve you very well on a night like tonight.
Ball and 2 strikes.
Nelson lost his first start of the year despite some quality work. 7 1/3 of 2-run baseball against the Giants. He has won his last 3 starts. Got at least 6 innings every time he's gone out.
This is the first of 19 meetings this season. Cubs went 14-5 against Milwaukee last year. And they've won 12 of the last 13.
Had the shot of the Brewers dugout. Craig Counsell along with his new bench coach Pat Murphy, who was his coach at Notre Dame. So homecoming of sorts for those guys.
First full season for Counsell. He replaced Ron Renicky early last season. And a 2-2. Bryant held. Full count, 3-2. Anthony Rizzo on deck.
Yeah, the strikeout rate is down significantly for Chris Bryant so far this year.
Payoff delivery, and Bryant fouls it off himself. There you go.
Yeah, we're gonna have a little cover.
Another 3-2, and this time he strikes him out. So no base runners for either team in the first.
There's a high fly ball, short right, should be caught. Panzone's out there on the grass. He has it. It's a no-hitter for Pappas. A no-hitter for Bill Pappas.
Nice video tribute to the late Milt Pappas, who passed away last week. We lost a member of the Cubs family, and it was great to see members of Milt's family on the field during that great tribute. Second inning, 0-0.
Chris Carter has been mashing the baseball. .689 slugging percentage, 5 home runs. He's got 9 doubles. A lot of swing and miss in his game. He strikes out a whole bunch, but he'll take some walks as well.
Two. Carter's hit for a lot of power these last couple of years, hitting for average. Start the season. Ooh, close. Hendricks didn't get it. 2-2.
Yeah, the Brewers are third in the league in walk rate. A much more patient team this year than they were last, at least to this point in the season. There's 9 doubles for Carter, tied for the league lead with Fowler and Marte and a couple others.
Well, look at those pitches. Like a couple he could have.
Yeah, and it looked like in the first inning, it looked like Larry Vanover was going to have a pretty generous zone.
Cubs baseball on CSN, presented by State Farm. Let's check out that last pitch.
Man, that's a quality offering.
There's Kurt Neuenhuis with the first base runner of the night. Neuenhuis acquired on waivers from the Mets in December. They've got a new general manager, David Stearns. He came over from the Houston organization, so there are a lot of former Astros now with Milwaukee. They turned over half the 40-man roster during the winter. They're doing a rebuild, but they're trying to do it in less than kind of the typical 4 to 5 years that you hear a lot of clubs talk about.
Well, then they must feel like they've got some pretty good talent in their farm system that's pretty close to being major league ready. Oh my, that could have been
2-1.
They got the shortstop, right? Arcia?
Yep.
Supposed to be a heck of a player. They've got some pretty good young arms, and some of these kids that are really struggling so far this year have been better in the past, and have some upside.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Cubs pitchers dealt their 4th shutout of the young season on Sunday in Cincy. They lead the National League in that category, and that one's thumped. Fowler on the move, and he won't get there. Neuenhuis to second, Carter to third. It's a double.
And that ball elevated a little bit, and the challenge for Kyle Hendricks here is you can't get frustrated with the umpire's strike zone. You got to stay kind of with your game, and his game is sinkers down around the knees. And sometimes when you feel like you're getting squeezed a little bit, you'll challenge the middle of the zone, and Kyle really can't afford to do that, even on a night like tonight. And Fowler not able to run it down, but able to track it down before it got to the wall. And that, for now, saves the run.
Cubs will play their infield back with nobody out. Rizzo is off the line, but about even with a bag against Aaron Hill. And he takes a pitch off the outside corner for ball 1. Slow start for Hill, acquired from the Diamondbacks in January. Ross will head out, talk it over with Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah, and maybe that David just wanted to check in with Kyle to see what he was thinking here with the base open, if he didn't want to give in.
It's a strike. Cubs catchers basically catch all the starting pitchers in spring training. This is Ross's first game this year with Hendricks. He caught him 3 times in the regular season last year. Another ball hit pretty well. Soler will make the catch. And the Brewers will grab the early lead as Carter scores on a sac fly by Aaron Hill.
Gives you some indication of the conditions here tonight. That ball appeared to be pretty well struck and didn't really go anywhere.
Now, Ramon Flores, he's playing left as Ryan Braun gets a night off.
Braun off to a really good start. And he's coming off back surgery, and they want to be careful with him. So off day yesterday and scheduled off day here today. Scooter Gennett was in the starting lineup, but apparently tweaked something during batting practice.
It's on the outside corner. And it's 1-1. Flores signed originally by the Yankees. He was traded to Seattle last summer in the Dustin Ackley deal, and then Milwaukee got him from the Mariners in November. He chops to the shortstop Russell. The plays at first. Heiss advances to third, 2 outs.
Hey, Cub fans, let's go. Tickets are still available for the remaining games on this homestand. The Brewers and then the Braves come to town. Get your tickets at Cubs.com. A reminder, the Cubs have added metal detectors at all gates here at Wrigley Field, so give yourself plenty of time to enter the ballpark. For additional information, visit Cubs.com/security.
Yadiel Rivera looks at a strike. Not scheduled to start, but as JD mentioned, Scooter Gennett is a late scratch. And we do not have an official word on why, but I guess we're assuming it's not a healthy scratch, to borrow the hockey term.
I talked to Rock, and he said he thought he tweaked something in BP. Took a big swing and just felt a twinge.
Called strike 3, and the inning comes to an end. But a leadoff walk, a double, and then a sac fly, giving Milwaukee an early 1-0 lead.
ride with Cubs checking and an official Cubs MasterCard debit card, only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC.
I don't want to cast aspersions regarding anyone's intestinal fortitude in the media, but there's the writer's press box. You notice the windows. It's us.
Let's check out this window.
Right.
Okay, no
fresh
window
air.
there.
Okay. Keep going down the row if you want.
Yeah.
There's the Brewers television crew, Bill Schroeder and Matt LePay. How are the radio guys doing?
There's a little crack. I see a small crack in the window there.
Not quite hermetically sealed for the guys.
They don't even have hats on.
Well, there we go.
There we go.
Radio booth
There's a gamer. Open. There's a gamer.
It's Jeff Levering on the right. Wayne Grindle on the left.
All right.
Here's Anthony Rizzo. 1-0 Milwaukee in a strike call from Jimmy Nelson.
Yes, mas macho.
How about that slash line? Batting average 19 points below what the Cubs pitching staff's hitting, but the on base and the slugging really, really good.
Really swinging it well lately. You mentioned it the other day, the batting average and balls in play really low, and there's a function of luck there, so that's going to turn around.
Two homers on Sunday. He's hit 5 in his last 5 games. He is the first Cub with 8 homers in the first 19 games of his season since Billy Williams did it in 1970. And only Bryce Harper has more RBIs among all major league players right now than Rizzo's 21.
They get the extreme shift on. They've got Rivera, I'm assuming, out there in shallow right, but way towards the line.
Here's a fun question for you. Could a guy win an MVP award hitting 203 if all those other numbers were, I mean, let's say he led the league in homers, RBIs, slugging, and hit 203?
I would say certainly he could, especially in this era where, you know, people are de-emphasizing batting average. So we oftentimes see the shift for Rizzo, but it's pretty extreme how they have Rivera so close to the line out there in shallow right. See Brewers just behind the Astros in terms of percentage of shifts.
That's per opponent plate appearance. And the Cubs right near the bottom, shifting a lot less than they did a couple of years ago. 3-2 on Rizzo. And again, the Brewers prefer to call it optimal positioning.
Yeah, because you got a blank slate, and you didn't have a predetermined idea of where guys should play.
That deflects off the glove of Nelson. And I think that's the shortstop who made the play.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I'm going to continue to call it a shift.
No, it's Aaron Hill who made the play. We're going to call it a shift.
Yeah, I'm going to call it a shift.
So that's a 1-5-3.
So yeah, because the argument is, a lot of times you hear people say, well, when somebody gets a base hit through a vacated spot because of the shift, they say, well, he beat the shift. So the counter argument would be, anytime there's a base hit through a hole where guys are normally or typically deployed, say, well, he beat the suboptimal defensive alignment. So much to think about. Just want to watch a ball game.
There's the 1-0 on Ben Zobrist, and it misses the outside corner. Five hits in the first 3 games in Cincinnati before having a day off on Sunday. 3-0. Nelson, born in Klamath Falls, Oregon, went to high school in Niceville, Florida, and then attended the University of Alabama. And he just walked Zobrist, first base runner for the Cubs. His major league debut in this ballpark in 2013. 2 scoreless relief innings.
He's pitched well against the Cubs in his career. Last year he made 3 starts against them. He was 0-1, but he had a 2.61 ERA in those 3 ball games.
Soler pops it up. Over near the tarp is Carter, but the wind will make that just a foul strike. This Saturday, April 30th, the Cubs battle the Atlanta Braves at 1:20. Up to the first 10,000 early arriving fans will get a Ron Santo replica statue presented by TransUnion. For more info, including ticket availability, visit Cubs.com. It'll be a fun giveaway.
See, Soler's playing the mind over matter game this year. Yep. Last year there was so much made about him not enjoying the cold weather. He was all bundled up, looked miserable. It's like he's decided to embrace it.
Off the plate inside, and it's 1-1. Jonathan VR, not so much. Can he even see?
This game is so easy, he doesn't need to see. That's how good he is. He's going to play by sound. Some of the best instincts of anybody I've ever seen.
Another one in tight. Take it 2-1. One that'll get out of play.
Given the conditions, at some point, given the right situation, you might start thinking about a little small ball, a little hit and run, try to steal a bag. Just don't anticipate a whole lot of slugging here tonight.
Background, Addison Russell on deck. Brewers got a run in the top of this second inning. Zobrist at first. And a 2-2 count on Jorge Soler. Stumble there by Nelson as he took the return throw.
Big dude, 6'6", 245, second round pick in 2010.
You got him looking.
Third strikeout, second one looking at Hayward on an inside fastball at the knees. This time he runs that sinker down and in on Soler.
Tough pitch to do anything with. In fact, if anything, he probably bounds into a 6-4-3 double play.
Fouls it off his shin.
Yeah. So that will bring up Addison Russell. He's been on base a lot lately. 7 of his last 13 tries. Low and outside.
Well, the Cubs have gotten off to this great start because it was, good work on the road. They've only played 6 home games, fewest in Major League Baseball.
10-3 on the road.
Picking up where they left off last year, they had the best road record in baseball.
Without wind, that ball is caught maybe 5 feet into foul territory at first base. With the wind, it ended up about 12 rows back behind the dugout. It's that much of a difference on a night like this.
And I got to give a shout out to Otis, Tom Hellman, the Cubs clubhouse man, for hooking me up with this parka.
Swing and a miss.
This for this baby. This is good.
Thickest
this is good
jacket
stuff.
ever. Or
It's
did you
Gore-Tex,
just,
Jerry. Feel it. It's
I
Gore-Tex.
was going to say, did you put on about 40 pounds the other
This
day?
is beautiful. I'm good to go.
I got my electric blanket. Good.
We're going to start burning game notes.
Ground ball to second. Rivera gloves. Karen Muscat said on a tweet, she said, she asked the camera guys, how do you stay warm on a night like this? And they said, we don't. Same up here.
No, they're layered up, but yeah, you got to love it. Let me see. Alex Brown. Any other names I need to know? I'm just checking. Chicago is your Bears draft headquarters. At 5, catch Sports Talk Live, where former Bear Alex Brown joins the panel as they preview the Bears' options with the number 11 pick. Then at 10:30, get a complete recap and analysis of the first round on Sportsnet Central. Bears draft day coverage, presented by Miller Lite, starts Thursday at 5 on CSN Chicago.
Third inning, here's the pitcher, Jimmy Nelson. Craig Counsell has actually batted the pitcher 8th in 11 of their first 19 games, but Nelson batting 9th tonight. He went around. He's 10 out of 87 in his Major League career. He went 0 for 59 in his minor league career. So he made an adjustment. He strikes out here. 3 for Hendricks.
Against one walk, a leadoff walk last inning that came around to score the game's only run, and that was just the 4th walk issued by Kyle this year. For those who like to dig into the esoteric, the more analytical stats, his fielding independent pitching, his FIP, was 2.63 before this ball game. An ERA of 4. But that fielding independent pitching is kind of predictive. If he continues to pitch, the way he has, that ERA should come down. That's He's not walking people. He's only allowed 1 home run. He's got a good strikeout rate.
Two and 0 the count. You get 3-0 on Santana, who came over from Houston, but that was before David Stearns became their GM last July. The deal that sent Carlos Gomez and Mike Fiers to the Astros.
And the Astros had gotten Santana from the Phillies. Was it the Pence deal? It was either the Pence or the Oswald deal a few years back.
The ground, Bryant can't get it. Russell does in the backhand, and he throws him out. 2 down.
Good concentration, pretty play here by Russell. A lot of times on a cold night like tonight, just the game doesn't flow and it's tough for the infielders, but a nice play here by Russell to get Santana.
Kids Sundays are back at Wrigley Field. Make sure you get tickets to Sunday's series finale with the Braves. After the game, the first 1,000 kids 13 and younger will have the chance to run the bases, weather permitting. For more info on how to receive a field access wristband for your child to run the bases, it's Cubs.com/kids. Another former Astro, Jonathan VR. And strike, it's 0-2. It was acquired in November. A sign, here he comes. Zobrist will pick it up. The Brewers go down in order in the 3rd. They lead this game 1-0.
The Budweiser patio offers fans an all-inclusive Budweiser bleacher experience in prime home run territory down the right field line. This outdoor semi-private space opens 2 hours prior to the game. It's perfect for corporate outings, client events, family gatherings. For more on all the available outdoor spaces located in the Budweiser bleachers, visit Cubs.com/premier.
David Ross inserted into the lineup just before batting practice. Miguel Montero with some back stiffness. And he tried to bunt with the infield back. Strike 1. If it's possible, the wind is blowing harder right now than it it was when we started.
It's about a 3-club win.
Bouncer to short. VR. Strong arm, and he throws him out.
Bad for a guy who can't see.
Hendricks, Cubs pitchers batting .222 collectively with a homer and 8 knocked in and 50 plate appearances. Strike 2. Kyle saying, give me some of those calls. That'll get foul into pretty much an empty bullpen. Are there any relievers sitting down there? No, just Marcus Hanel. Yeah, the bullpen catcher and bullpen coach Lee Tunnell. That's it.
Boys are in the dugout, maybe up in the clubhouse, staying warm, having a hot chocolate.
1-2. Franklin Font pretty lonely on the other side with Chad Noble.
Creative use of the heater and the towel there by Noble.
Called strike 3 in time for our Coors Light game report with Kelly Kroll. Hey, Kelly.
Hey, guys. We'll see what Dexter Fowler can do here his second time around. Had a chance to talk with him, ask him what's attributed to his hot start. And he said, of course, I put a lot of time in this offseason with my personal trainer, gaining good weight, about 15 pounds of muscle. Had really been focusing on his legs, which, talking to John Maley, said has really helped his hip rotation and can reach a lot more balls in the strike zone right now. And his routine, guys, when it comes to what he's doing day in and day out, almost mirroring that of Jake Arrieta, is just very focused on his daily work, and we're seeing that in his results right now.
Kelly, I have a quick question for you.
Go right ahead.
So we feel the wind up top of the ballpark. How windy does it feel on the field?
Can I be like the iPhone tells you it feels like? Yeah. It feels like it's about 12 degrees out here right now.
It's about the same freezing up here.
I've got another coat that I'm putting on, and I'm just faking it during my hits.
Very
like
nice.
I'm a tough girl.
Okay. Thanks, Kelly.
You got it, guys.
1-1. So he's on base at 500, making it out in the first.
And I think that the mindset you have to have as a player here tonight is, yeah, it stinks to have to play in such cold weather, but it's even worse if you lose, right? So you might as well win. Find a way to scratch out a W.
Yeah, I think it's a lot colder for the losing team. Foul tipped into the glove. A late rising fastball from Nelson. He's been good early, leading 1-0. Xfinity high-speed action. National League Player of the Week as he threw his second career no-hitter on Thursday night in Cincinnati. He was honored before the game. His family here as the Cubs officially framed and presented his game-worn jersey. And time now for our Quicken Loans Rocket Arm. That's a good term for Jake Arrieta's right arm these days.
Yeah, call him the Rocket Man. These numbers since August 1st of last year. 15-0 and 16 starts with an 0.53. Normally when a guy throws a no-hitter, you say, well, that's the first no-hitter by the, since so-and-so. Well, in this case, so-and-so's the same guy.
We'll pitch game 2 tomorrow night. As Jonathan Lucroy takes a strike.
Sure, the Brewer hitters are pretty excited about the prospects of facing Arrieta tomorrow if it's anything like tonight.
Foul into the home dugout.
Now, as the Brewers began this rebuild, LaCroix talked about wanting to be traded.
Yeah, he was pretty honest publicly during the offseason about how much they would probably struggle. Didn't love the idea of being on a team that was expected to lose a lot. One-two from Hendricks, popped into right as Jason Hayward backpedals and makes the grab. As we'd like to welcome all our viewers watching tonight on ACEN Tech in Fayette County, Iowa. Here's Carter. Leadoff walk and scored the only run in the second. He leads the majors, tied for the major league lead with 9 doubles. He's got 18 hits, 14 have been for extra bases. He has averaged 30 homers per year each of the last 3 with Houston. And during that time, hitting just .218. A really good start here with the Brewers. Swing and a miss.
Hit 199 last year.
Bounced into center, so the Cubs had the shift on with Ben Zobrist over on the other side of second base. Carter finds a hole. That's the second Milwaukee hit.
Well, that'll be the next frontier in analytics. Weather-related shifting. On a night like tonight, is a guy more inclined to change his swing a little bit just to put it in play? You just see a big slugger like Carter, you would not expect him to hit the ball on the ground to the right side.
Neuenhuis fouls to the upper deck. Zobrist, Russell, Rizzo, and they turn 2, and the inning is over. 4-6-3 double play. Bottom 4, 1-0 Milwaukee.
nothing. Are you in charge of planning your next social gathering? How about a day or evening here at Wrigley Field? Enjoy the special perks only available inside the ballpark. The Cubs offer special ticket packages for groups of 15 or more. Visit Cubs.com/groups.
You know who Ray Nelson was?
Ray Nelson. No.
Ray Nelson was the first person to play organ music at a Major League Baseball game, and it was 75 years ago today at Wrigley Field.
Right here.
Yep.
It's ironic because I saw that note today, and I saw Gary Pressey earlier, and I said, hey, this is the anniversary of the first ever. And he knew. He said, yeah, it was Ray Nelson was the guy's name.
So in that span of time, you forgot who Ray Nelson was.
Well, there's Jimmy Nelson, there's Major Nelson, there's so many different Nelsons.
Charles Nelson, right?
Yeah. Admiral Nelson.
1-1 on Hayward. Here's a pitch. Inside. 2-1.
If his name was like Ray Schlabotnik, I would go, oh yeah. Right.
Tall right-hander on a 2-1, and it misses low in the dirt. 3-1.
Lee Organ, a permanent fixture here since 1967.
Ball to Rivera. Cubs still without a hit. One base runner was Ben Zobrist, who walked in the second. And the Cubs have not hit a fly ball yet, have they? And he's been a strikeout or a ground baller. Well, hello there. What happened? Are you away?
See the Brewers deployed here for Bryant, much like the Cubs were for Carter. That's fair ball.
Fair ball. Cubs have their first hit. Bryant to second, and he will drop anchor with a double.
Twice as nice. A one-out double takes the ground ball double play out of play, and chance for Rizzo to tie this ball game. Nelson likes that sinker down and in. Chris gets the hands pulled in enough to get on top of that one. Hits a lot of balls down that third base line.
Chris Cuccione all bundled up second base. So VR is playing between second and third, closer to third because of the base runner. Aaron Hill has played a lot of second base in his career, is just to the right of the bag at second as Rizzo takes a strike. Get on a play. They're doing all this fancy shifting. Anthony Rizzo is a fly ball hitter. So right now he's hitting a ton of fly balls, not a lot of line drives or ground balls. And 8 of those flies have left the yard.
Well, now they got another. Now they got a little. They got their nickel package now. 2 strikes.
The third and long.
Yep. 2-strike approach. They know he's willing to shorten up, punch it somewhere, so they react to the count.
Well, I mean, it does make sense. you're going to shift, you might as well take everything into account, including literally the count.
Yeah, and that's something infielders and outfielders are always taught to play the the pitch selection and the count. So maybe you cheat half a step one way, or in this instance, obviously they're coming out of the shift into a more traditional alignment with 2 strikes. You should always be reacting to the pitch selection and the count.
Two. Subero, the first base coach.
He must be charged. He must be the defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
positioning everybody.
Swing and a miss for strike 3. So 2 outs.
That's the thing about Nelson. He's not a one-trick pony. He hit a lot of ground balls with a sinker, but he does have enough giddy up. I got the one-trick pony and the giddy up all in the same comment. But he's got enough life on the fastball where he can elevate and beat you upstairs.
It's a one-trick giddy up pony.
Yeah.
Zobrist now. He walked in the second. Bottom of the zone for a strike.
This wind blowing in allows the outfielders to tighten up a little bit too. They might have a shot at Chris on a play at the plate on a sharply hit ball, certainly to left field.
Is foul. Joe Girardi quoted, I think today, saying if he were commissioner, he would eliminate the shift. He says it's an illegal defense like basketball. Interestingly enough, the Yankees are in the top 5 in terms of shifting, so they do it a lot.
It's not the illegal defense. Or he's saying he would make it one.
He would. Yes, he said, guard your man, guard your spot. If I were commissioner, they would be illegal. And he also said, as long as it's legal, I'm going to play it.
Well,
but he doesn't like it. It takes away from the original intent of the game. He said the field was built this way for a reason, with 2 on one side and 2 on the other. Hear Marchand's story on that. ESPN.com.
I couldn't disagree more.
Yeah, I don't think it takes away from the aesthetics of the game, does it?
No, I don't think so. It's tougher for the hitters. It's a tough era for the hitters. And the other part of it is if you put a rule like that in, so would you draw lines on the field? You have to start, here, or you got to be in your lane.
Now he admitted it maybe bothers him a little bit because Nate Eovaldi had his no-hitter end on a play that involved the shift. So I guess the ground ball went where normally the shortstop would be.
How many balls were caught where the shortstop normally wouldn't be?
I'm with you. Long run over. Flores makes the grab. And that will end the threat and our shifting conversation. 1-0 Brewers. all season long at CSNChicago.com, presented by Nationwide's Jeff Vukovich, serving the community for 38 years. Go to jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. We'll get the scoop from Patrick in our pregame coverage Thursday for the series finale. It'll be a 1:20 first pitch. Pregame coverage starts at 12:30. We'll talk to Patrick a little after 1. There's Aaron Hill. Sinker is low. Sac fly by Hill in the second, plating Chris Carter. We now play the 5th. That was 3 innings ago. 2-0. Draft coming up this week here in town. Rich Eisen, Steve Mariucci, Melissa Stark, NFL Network analysts will conduct the stretch a little later. Kurt Warner was here before the game.
He threw out the first football to Matt Caesar.
Touchdown Villanova. That's a strike. 3-2.
He's been around a long time. Broke in with the Jays of Toronto back in 05. Hit 36 home runs for them in 09.
He struck him out. Hill thought it was ball 4.
I'd say Larry Vanover on most of these borderline calls has been supported by our pitch tracks graphic. This one right on the corner. The Brewers talked earlier about their increased walk rate this year over last. More patient, taking more pitches. Just because they have different bodies, or if it's an emphasis. The new general manager, you mentioned David Stearns coming from the Astros. That was a big part of the thinking over there.
Bounce to Bryant. Lots of time. Flores gone. 2 outs. Here comes the second baseman Rivera. White Sox pounding the Blue Jays 7-1. They're in the 9th inning. In Toronto. It's a Chris Sale start, right?
Yes. He's looking for his 5th win, I believe.
Well, 8 innings, 100 pitches, and as far as I know, still in the game. A's all over the Tigers late in Detroit, 5-0. Both teams at 500 going in. 2-1 on Rivera. Cubs' next opponent will be the Atlanta Braves. They're trailing 6-2 in the 7th at home against Boston. They're 4-15. And they do not have a home run tonight. They've only hit 3 all year as a team. Anthony Rizzo has 8.
Scooter Gennett has 4.
David Price pitching for the Red Sox tonight. Right back to Hendricks. Now we'll flip to Anthony Rizzo. Inning over. We go to the last of the 5th. It's still 1-0 Milwaukee. Jimmy Nelson has been really good here early on.
Hey folks, don't miss Sports Talk Live tomorrow. Cap is joined by Bob Costas and Matt Forte. Man, that should be good. Sports Talk Live presented by the Chevy Silverado tomorrow at 5 right here on CSN Chicago.
I don't know how much time Cap will have with Bob, but I hope he asks him about his time in the ABA early in his broadcasting career.
And
I'm guessing it won't.
They did minor league hockey too back in in Syracuse, I believe.
2-0 on Jorge Soler. He's in for a strike, 2-1. Scary moment for Nelson last year on September 17th. Got drilled in the head by a liner off the bat of Tommy Pham of the Cardinals. He was taken to the hospital. Fortunately, only suffered a bad bruise. And as a precaution, he did not pitch over the final couple of weeks of last season. 2-2.
He has simplified his delivery. I talked earlier about him adding the curveball, and that really helped him, especially against left-handed hitters. He used to take his hands up over his head. He has modified his delivery, no longer does that. He's trying to be a little more consistent.
He's from an athletic family. His parents played collegiate sports. Father played football. He was on the track team as well at the University of Florida. His mom played basketball at Florida State. Ball 4. Good at bat. Turns into a no at bat for Soler. Second walk issued by Nelson.
And this time it's a leadoff walk. That's how the Brewers got started when they scored their run. He's pitched around some walks this year. He had 10 free passes in 26 innings, and he allowed 6 home runs through 26 innings coming into this game. That's a pretty big number for a ground ball guy.
There's a ground ball that gets past a diving Aaron Hill in the left for a base hit. So the Cubs have 2 on with nobody out as David Ross will come up.
Yeah, and there's going to get Joe Maddon's going to get some action up in his bullpen. You just don't know how many chances you're going to have on a night like tonight. So I think Joe wants to be ready to react here and possibly pinch hit for Hendricks.
It's Adam Warren.
And normally, I don't think he'd be thinking about this, you know, maybe in the 7th inning. But given the conditions, that changes your thinking a little bit.
And a very well-rested bullpen. You got Arrieta tomorrow. You hope to not have to use a ton of your bullpen. With Arrieta tomorrow, Lester on Thursday, and Ross stabs at it. Strike 1.
Tom La Stella starting to stretch. managers have to contemplate the worst case scenario, and I'm sure he said, well, if Rossi goes up there swinging away, bounces into a double play, then I've got Hendricks, my pitcher, coming up. This inning could fizzle in a hurry. If David can get a bunt down here, push these guys along, you got second and third, one out for LaStella or whoever it is that comes off that bench.
There's the bunt by Ross. It's a good one. So he's out on the sacrifice. 1-4. And it will be LaStella.
Yeah, and I saw Joe Madden talking to Kyle as he called him back to the dugout, and I guarantee you he said exactly that. Hey, man, any other night you're still in there, but I got to go for it here. On this frosty evening, we got a chance to score a couple of points. We're going to go for it.
And the best chance for Hendricks to get a win is probably him coming out. Derek Johnson, the Cubs' former minor league coordinator, is the new Brewers pitching coach, and he makes a trip to the mound with the entire Brewers infield out there as well.
Yeah, Kyle's point of view about this move will be greatly influenced by what happens over the next couple of hitters here. He's either going to be fully on board with this decision, or he's going to be a little annoyed with it.
Well, Hendricks done for the night. He was very good. Gave up just the one run in the second.
Yeah, and you know, that leadoff walk to Carter, he got squeezed on a couple of pitches in that sequence.
So it's LaStella who had a big day as a starter on Sunday in Cincinnati, and he takes ball one.
Joe has taken,
playing their infield back.
Yeah, well, they're going to concede one, don't want to give up two. Joe has taken to calling LaStella 3 a.m. Point being, he can roll out of bed in the middle of the night and get a hit. We'll see if he's 38-degree 3 a.m. good. It's a bigger challenge.
And one the count. So Lair at third. Russell, runner at second. Outfield pretty shallow, particularly in center and left. Neuenhuis and Flores. Two and one. Wilson ready. Here's the pitch. 3 balls and a strike. Fowler on deck.
Cubs have been good in the pinch this year. .313 batting average. 5 out of 16.
Ball 4 and they're loaded. So here's Dexter Fowler. Has grounded out and struck out. Based on his on-base average alone, he's due to reach.
not shied away from these situations.
Strike one. Side, 1-1 strike. Each team with just 2 hits.
Marked improvement so far this year for Dexter from this side. He's always been better from the right side, but he's really swinging it well from the left side.
Just got a piece of that pitch that was off the outside corner. 1-2.
He's not just getting his hits, he's driving the ball. He's backing up outfielders to 3 home runs.
By far the best chance the Cubs have had tonight. And as you mentioned, Joe makes this move because he's not sure how many chances you're going to get. Ground ball foul. And about a foot.
That would have cleared him. Yeah, you're getting your third look, you know, top of the order, getting the third look at the starting pitcher here. As you mentioned, the bullpen is well rested. The Cubs bullpen has thrown the fewest innings in all of Major League Baseball because the starters have been so good.
Warren is already ready, but he wouldn't mind waiting a little longer.
Hendricks calm there, but inside he's churning, pulling for Fowler here. Good take.
For the most part, this offense does not get too anxious even with 2 strikes. It will make that pitcher work to get him out. 2-2. Deep drive, center field. That ball's going to hold up with the wind, and it's going to be caught by Neuenhuis. Everybody tagging. We are tied on a sacrifice fly. Crowd thought that ball might get out, but not with the wind tonight. But that is a good result. Kyle Hendricks waiting to congratulate Dexter Fowler after driving in the tying run.
Yeah, very nice plate appearance there by Fowler. Got something he could get airborne. Soler worked the walk.
With those other runners moving up now, Single could plate a couple as Hayward takes ball 1.
That would feel like a big lead, wouldn't it? 3-1 on a night like tonight. Got to be ready for that pitch in the dirt if you're Addison Russell. Ooh. Wow. LaCroix.
You can't even believe it.
In disbelief.
Yeah, that wasn't even borderline. That was definitely inside that box. So 2-0. would gladly take it. Russell now at third. LaStella's at second. Three and one.
He was very aggressive with that 2-0 fastball. Let's see if he is so again here on 3-1.
Ground ball scooped by Rivera. The inning is over, but the Cubs do tie it. They made Nelson work hard to get out of that inning, allowing just one. It's 1-1. Top of the sixth. Follow In-Game Live on CSNChicago.com, presented by State Farm. Here's right-hander Adam Warren on a chilly night, sixth inning in a 1-1 deadlock.
Good start to his Cub career. 6 appearances so far, an ERA of 0. Adam worked a scoreless 7th inning yesterday. 3 up, 3 down. Had a strikeout. Well, Sunday rather, not yesterday. Oh, he might have pitched yesterday. Who knows? From a sandlot game.
Just didn't count in the standings.
A box score we can find.
One strike on Nelson.
Yesterday in baseball parlance is just the last game played.
Right.
Nice soft landing coming into the game to face the opposing pitcher.
Santana and VR also due here in the Brewers' 6th. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
How do you get to Wrigley Field? The Cubs suggest taking public transportation. They do offer a free bike check. It's now located by the Addison Red Line station. And if you drive, the Cubs provide free remote parking and shuttle service on night and weekend games. For information, visit the A to Z guide at Cubs.com.
1-0 on Santana.
Santana, one of those guys, scouts would say, well, he's toolsy, but raw. Big, strong guy, big arm. He has power. He runs well.
Sox, the first major league team this year to win 15 games as they beat the Blue Jays. Ten to 1 the final. Carlos Torres getting loose in the Brewers pen. A flinch by Larry Vanover.
Yeah, good pitch.
Chris Sale went 8 innings in that game to get the win. He's 5-0. Fouled away into the upper tank. Still 2-2. A good night for the lefties. David Price with 14 strikeouts in 8 innings in Atlanta tonight. Red Sox leading 7-2, top of the ninth.
It's 81 degrees there. Just saying.
Did you specifically seek out the game time temp in Atlanta?
Just curious what the conditions were like down there in Atlanta. The Santana kid is just a kid. He's 23 years of age.
When are they no longer kids to us? Is there an age cutoff?
I don't know.
Experience in the big leagues?
Well, yeah, I think it's
combination. Addison Russell just 22.
Yeah, and it seems like the older I get, the longer they stay kids.
Right. So next year he'll be 23, but it'll be his third year in the big leagues. Well, will he still be a kid in your eyes?
Right. Yeah. Well, he will because I'm old, but yeah, you go from kid to veteran in a hurry in this league.
Yeah. How would you describe Bryce Harper? Is he a kid? He just recently turned 23.
He's a man-child is what he is.
Leading the majors in homers and RBIs. Slugging. The Major League Triple Crown. Well, I should say he won the Major League title in on-base slugging and OPS last year.
The sabermetric Triple Crown.
There you go. Two and two, so the bullpen will be asked to cover these final 4 innings. That was the shortest start by a Cubs pitcher this year, I believe. 5 innings.
Yeah, Kyle last time out went 5 1/3 or 5 2/3, and that was the first time the Cub pitcher had not gone at least 6. A starter had not gone at least 6 this year. I think it might be a little disconcerting to look in to see the hitter masked up the way VR is here tonight.
Billy Idol song, Eyes Without a Face.
It's like
rattling around in my head.
He's going to try to get a base hit and steal your wallet.
Tap foul.
Warren has command of 4 pitches. Pretty good run on the fastball. Works the bottom of the zone effectively. We haven't seen a lot of them, but you can just tell a little bit we have seen. He's got a real good idea what he's doing out there.
Thing about VR, he's a switch hitter. Ryan Braun could put on his number 5 jersey. He might not know the difference.
We'd have the first ever manager's challenge to reveal the identity of the player.
Back to the pitcher, Warren, and he works a 1-2-3 6th inning. Bottom of the 6th coming up. Cubs 1, Brewers 1. In the Cubs minor league system, Chesney Young, an infielder, with Tennessee, Paul Blackburn, a pitcher, the player and pitcher of the week in the Southern League. Ian Happ, player of the week in the Carolina League for Myrtle Beach. Today, Tennessee beat Mobile 11-2. Jamer Candelario had a homer and 6 RBIs in a 5-game series sweep. 1 to Bryant. John Andrioli last night for AAA Iowa hit 2 home runs, had 3 hits. Dan Vogelbach homer. Albert Almora had 3 hits. 13-6 win over Oklahoma City. They lost today 4-2.
Andreoli had a very impressive spring with the big club. Had gotten off to a slow start, so nice to see him get on track.
Top to third and booted by Aaron Hill. The door has opened.
Was the glove too early?
The error. It's Bryant at first, and here's Anthony Rizzo. Also nearing 100 pitches on the night. Heart of the zone, 1-1.
There's a slider, 86, 87 miles an hour. Throws a hard curveball, 80 to 83.
Rizzo crushes one, but way foul. Offense not coming so easily tonight. 16, 8, 5, and 9 the run totals over the 4 games in Cincinnati.
And that ballpark does a great hitter's park. The conditions were good. Ball was jumping pretty good. This place, as you know, a split personality. It's cold, wind blowing in. It is a very tough place to hit. Hot summer day with the wind blowing out. It's when you have those 15 to 10 games.
Two and two on Rizzo. Wind does blow in more often than it blows out in the course of a major league season. Back. The current configuration of the outfield walls, it's been like this for a long time. Dimensions haven't really changed. One of the newer ballparks have been able to make some adjustments, especially the bigger parks, making them smaller. Ball cranked out into deep left center, slicing, and it's going to be caught on the run. It's Nieuwenhuis. They make the grab, and Bryant heads back to first.
Yeah, I think the wind took a bite out of that one too.
So talking to himself.
Frustrated, yeah.
I suppose that's the equivalent of a pitcher making a perfect two-strike pitch right on the corner, not getting the call, right? You did everything to execute exactly what you wanted, and you didn't get the desired result. And for a hitter to hit a rocket like that and have it die 340 feet from home plate, it's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, and you know, it's the nature of the game. Sometimes you hit the ball on a line right at somebody. In this instance, it's the conditions. The wind knocked it down. Otherwise, that ball probably bounces on the warning track.
Oh, 1-1.
One of the great things about baseball, the nature of the game can change from one day to the next, depending on which ballpark you're playing in, what the weather's doing.
Can I call that a frozen rope on a night like this?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. That was a frozen rope. Two. It's low. Looks like this will be the last inning for Nelson, considering where his pitch count is. This is already a season high. Second time in 5 starts he's gone over 100. Those 2 innings, he's had to throw a lot more pitches to get outs. Victimized here by an error to start the inning. Bryant takes off, and Zobrist walks. Looks like it'll be it.
Second walk of the night worked by Zobrist.
So Carlos Torres will enter the game, 1 out. Runners at first and second, and a 1-1 tie. We'll be back. For the Hyundai call to the pen, veteran right-hander Carlos Torres.
8 appearances so far this year, 5.40 ERA. He's allowed 12 hits, in 10 innings. 3 of those hits have left the ballpark. He only allowed 5 home runs all last year, pitching for the Mets. It's 59 times for the Metropolitans last year. 468 earned run average. Shows a lot of cut fastballs.
He was with Atlanta in spring training, got released on the final day of March. And then a couple of days later, signed with the Brewers as a free agent. 2 men on and 1 out. Here's Jorge Soler. A cut and a miss on a pitch in the strike zone. 0-1. He walked and scored in the 5th. Justin Grimm. It's Addison Russell on deck. 2 balls and a strike. Here's a pitch. A fly ball right field. Santana went back. Now he's got to come in. And he grabs it for the 2nd out.
Solid single last time up between 3rd and short. Doesn't have a whole lot of room to operate over there this time.
Up and in. The wind has not abated all night.
NPR taking away the hole.
It has been a small ball night since we started. And now some big ball maybe. That's going to split the alley. 2 runs are going to score. Bryant is in. Ben Zobrist will score. How about a triple? 3-1.
A piercing line drive is the answer on a night like tonight, and Russell delivers. Right in the heart of the zone. Pretty swing.
So those runs will be charged to the starter Nelson. They will be unearned, however, because of the Hill error to start the inning. The 1-0, David Ross. It's a foul out of play.
You think Addy will seek out Riz and say, what win? What are you talking about, big fella? He's got to be strong like me.
One and 2 on Ross. back as Ross stays alive. Adam Warren is on deck. Doesn't mean he would hit. Nobody up in the Brewer bullpen. We showed you Justin Grimm earlier, and he's still getting loose in the Cubs pen. Ball strike 3 to end the inning, but a 2-out, 2-run triple by Addison Russell. He's come up with a couple of huge hits at home to start this season. Remember the big home run on opening night here at Wrigley? 3-1 Cubs. Addison Russell with the go-ahead 2-run triple. 5 hits combined through 6 innings. And Adam Warren will continue on. He is now the pitcher of record for the Cubs, facing Jonathan Lucroy, who's 0 for 2. Top of their order, 1 through 3, a combined 0 for 8.
Yeah, when just 1 ball out of the infield from that group. Lucroy flew to right last time up. A lot of ground ball outs. And you would expect that with Hendricks on the mound. Warren has gotten a couple of his own here in the 6th.
Two-1 on the Milwaukee catcher. Lofted to center. Fowler is headed back now, has to come in. Follow Cubs baseball live with the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with Game Day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. Carter has walked, singled, and scored, and swings and misses. "16 of the next 19 on the schedule will be here at Wrigley. The 3 on the road at Pittsburgh next week."
Yeah, quick out and back. Pittsburgh. Joe's calling it the minimalist road trip.
He has Talked about a theme trip in terms of what the players and the staff will wear. He has not yet revealed it publicly. We have seen a sneak peek, and it's pretty good. We are not allowed to reveal. Yeah.
We could leak it.
Feel that
kind of like a Watergate thing.
Feel free to do so.
Joe's travel plans. Yeah.
Two on Carter. You dropped a Watergate. It's Carter at the plate, not Nixon.
Yeah, I need to polish that up a little bit.
Three-two. Swing and a miss. 2 down.
Now time for our Cubs upcoming game schedule, brought to you by Travel Wisconsin. Plan your fun today at travelwisconsin.com. 2 more here with Milwaukee. And then the Braves coming to town. The Braves really scuffling.
And if this were 1962, we'd say the Braves are here, and then Atlanta? Who's that? Because they were in Milwaukee, remember?
I do remember that. Yeah.
One strike on Nieuwenhuis. Swing and a miss, 0-2.
We talked about Warren's pitchability and a dandy of a change up there.
What a nice addition to this bullpen Adam Warren has been. In relief for now, down the road. Could possibly start. Something he did on occasion with the Yankees. 2-2.
Nieuwenhuis has to have that changeup in the back of his mind now. That being the case, the heater in on the hands might jam him. Looks like they're going to go soft away.
Ball strike 3, and it's time now for the Mazda 7th inning stretch.
Rich, get closer so they can.
Tonight's guest conductors for Take Me Out to the Ball Game, NFL Network's Rich Eisen, Steve Mariucci, and Melissa Stark.
All right, let me hear ya. A 1, a 2, a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back, so let's root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old game. Hey!
New pitcher, new batter. And it's Blaine Boyer and Javier Baez hitting for Adam Warren.
Warren could be the winning pitcher here tonight.
Yeah.
It would be his second.
And it would be deserved. It was very effective.
Yes, it was not a vulture.
Baez lines one to center, and it'll get down in front of Neuenhuis. Pinch hit single to start the Cubs' 7th.
Good work by the bench here tonight. And Estella worked a walk in his appearance off the bench. Baez delivers a leadoff single. I'd be surprised to see Baez looking to run at some point.
Pedro Strop has the 8th. Cubs will have at least a 2-run lead. One foul by Fowler. There he goes. Pitch is a strike. The throw is a strike. And Baez thinks he got in.
And the throw beat him, but it looked like he tried to dance around the tag, and he's going to hang on right there as they take a peek in the video review room. He does a little swim move here. And that left hand takes it away, reaches around to the back corner. I think he's safe. I think somewhere in the midst of all that, he managed to get that hand to the bag and the foot to the back corner before the front hand left the base. I think he's safe. This is a nice little twister move here. Right hand green, right foot yellow. I think he's safe.
I'm with you.
So I don't think the tag was applied initially. Brushes his leg there, but I think throughout that whole process, Baez maintained contact with the base.
So a challenge has been put forth by Joe Madden. It is the Forsythe replay review.
Clever base running there by Baez, or clever sliding, I guess I should say, and it points out how tougher how much tougher the job has become for middle infielders on these tag plays. I mean, it used to be you would get in and get out. You just sweep that through there, show the umpire you still had possession of the ball, and it would be an easy out call, and it wouldn't really be argued by anybody.
And I'm pretty sure the laces on the glove, that they made a clarification that those do not count. So let's say the lace were dangling and hit the
yeah, I guess you would.
The hand, he is not considered out until the main part of the glove gets him.
That's, yeah, because then you could have like 9-inch laces.
Was a great goth band back in 1987.
Well, it's kind of interesting
laces.
that they had to even contemplate that rule, right? Because of the ability to break it down frame by frame in slow motion, that you'd have to have a clarification on lace length.
Right, so in the past, a lace could be used to tag a runner. That is no longer the case.
All right, a little intermission intermission music. Yep, good call. I mean, that's a tough call for the umpire to make initially. Sometimes we look at those reviews and you're like, well, of course it's going to be overturned. And it was just a bad call. That was just a tough call. And a good, well-used challenge.
Boyer with the 0-2, and it's outside.
So two different looks here. You can watch this whole play develop.
Boyer thought he had him. Didn't get the call. 2-2. Boyer has been around a while. 10th big league season. First half of his career with the Braves. He's been a Cardinal, a Diamondback, a Met, a Padre, a Twin, and now a Brewer. This time he got it. Jason Hayward.
Caught looking at a fastball inside corner at the knees first time, then a couple ground outs. Last two trips.
Foul tipped for strike one. Really holds his hands high in that set position. And Hayward able to hold up on his check swing that time.
VR, the shortstop, in to have a word with Boyer. Maybe just a reminder to keep an eye on Baez out at second base. Looks like it was a good check.
Shallow left. Flores under it. So 2 outs, and here's Chris Bryant. He struck out, doubled, reached on an error, and scored the go-ahead run. Justin Grimm is up yet again, along with Strop.
Random trivia factoid for the folks at home. Quick little 30-second quiz. People know that Chris Bryant set the club rookie record for home runs last year. And most folks know that he beat Billy Williams, surpassed Billy Williams. The question is, who are numbers 3, 4, and 5 on that list? Single season rookie home run record in Cub franchise history.
That's a good one.
It was a two-way tie for 3 and 4. Giovanni Soto.
Okay, that would make sense.
Walt, either Morin or Morin.
Yeah, Morin.
M-O-R-Y-N, 1956, I believe. And the number 5 on the list, Tyler Colvin.
Oh yeah, he had that 1 year.
20 home runs, yeah. 2010.
I would not have gotten that one. Bryant takes a walk.
Classic example of a hitter accepting his walk. I mean, it wasn't like Boyer was all over the place. He was around the fringes of the zone. And was not going to offer until he was willing to throw it over the plate. Pass the baton to the next man.
Rizzo 0 for 3. And the pitch. Catches the outside corner, apparently.
Rizzo feeling a little grumpy right now, I would think. He had a bullet last time that the wind held up. Now he gets behind in the count on a pitch that was a little bit off that outside corner. His proximity to the plate definitely influences the home plate umpire. A lot of times the call is made based on how close it is to him, not necessarily how close it is to the plate.
Well, Boyer trying to exploit that, did not get that call.
Get one off the edge. Why not sneak out a little further? See if you can take the umpire with you. Jonathan LaCroix, the catcher, is really good back there. Presents a real good target. Small and quiet. Great hands. Really presents the ball. Frames it well. We talked about wanting to be traded, but you could see where the Brewers would really want to hang on to him with a lot of young pitchers on their pitching staff. Let him lead the way. Another thing about LaCroix's deal is he's got a club option for next year. It's a very club-friendly deal that he signed a few years ago. Turned into one of the elite catchers in the game, solid behind the plate and really good offensively as well. You're not making a ton of money by Major League Baseball player standards. And the same point can be made for the guy standing in the batter's box right now too.
Club-friendly deal for Anthony Rizzo. Ground ball will get through. Smothered there by Rivera, but a run will score. So Baez's stolen base ends up getting cashed in as Rizzo knocks in his 22nd run of the year. It's 4-1.
That's some big two-out knocks for the Cubs in this ball game. Russell's triple. Now Rizzo delivers. You saw that batting average when he came up to hit it. He dipped below 200 now. And I looked the other day, he was hitting 340 something with runners in scoring position. So he's gotten big hits. He's got plenty of long hits. This time he finds a little seam in the defense.
extra run here in the 7th. 3-run lead. And it's Zobrist. Strike one. Downstairs, 2 balls and a strike. Cold night, 35,861 the paid crowd, and a lot of them showed up. Toward right, diving stop, Rivera out at first. That saved 2 runs. Cubs lead by 3, could be 5, but Rivera with a terrific defensive play. 4-1 after 7.
Chance to catch the best matchups in baseball. Join the season ticket holder waiting list. It's easy. It's free to register. For details, visit Cubs.com/waiting list.
Bryant goes from third to left. Baez stays in and plays third. So Soler is out. And Pedro Strop takes over on the mound.
Appearance number 9 for Pedro. He's pitched to a 1.23 ERA. 9 punches against just 1 walk.
Bill with a sac fly in the 2nd. Struck out looking in the 5th. And a big error starting the go-ahead 2-run rally for the Cubs in the 6th. Hendricks, Warren, and Strop for the Cubs tonight. Nelson, Torres, and Boyer so far for the visitors. Quick pitch and got away from him. 2-2. It's Rivera on deck. Check that. Flores on deck. Rivera as Hill walks. So a leadoff free pass, and it is Ramon Flores. It's by everybody, and Hill advances to second. We'll call that a wild pitch.
Good call.
Thank you.
You nailed it. You don't even have to go to the video review for that one. It's going to bring Chris Bosio out of the dugout just to check in with Strop, make sure everything's okay out there. Maybe some just in case action in the bullpen as well. Looks like Trevor Cahill jogging down from the dugout.
Called strike. Good visit. 1-1.
Plus fastball with a lot of movement. Real good arm side run. Best pitch is the slider. So the occasional splitter.
This ball at 94, well located. 2-2. Brewers have 2 hits on the night. A Nieuwenhuis double in the second, a Carter single in the fourth. Rizzo will take it to the bag. Third, 1 out. Switch hitter Colin Walsh, an infielder, and a Rule 5 pick, will pinch hit for Rivera. Sam Freeman, left-hander in the Brewer bullpen.
You got to throw it in there to Colin Walsh. He is a walk machine. He walked 124 times at AA last year. I believe that led all of minor league baseball.
Yep, it did. It was in the Oakland system, and the Brewers grabbed him in the Rule 5 draft in December.
Also struck out a bunch, 131 punch outs last year, so 255 times he either walked or punched out.
Three and two. I was saying about half the season last year could have just been pitcher-catcher plate appearances, maybe in the backyard.
And you have to be willing to jeopardize that called third strike to take that many walks.
He held and he walks. Not ideal. You're up 3 and 2 walks here in the inning.
Yeah, when Craig Counsell sent him up there, I'm sure that was a big part of his thinking. This guy's got a real good chance to go up there and work a walk for us and bring the tying run to home plate, and it's going to be Ryan Braun.
We've had a scoring change. Anthony Rizzo's been credited with a double. And that hustle play, the RBI hit in the 7th, originally called a single. And here is Ryan Braun.
He's been a Cub killer throughout his career. Among active players with a significant number of at-bats, he has the highest batting average against the Cubs. Highest batting average in this ballpark, 350 something here at Wrigley.
He's the Brewers' all-time franchise leader in home runs with 260. And he drives one to right, and that's going to get in, and it might score a couple. Hill will score. Walsh being sent by Ed Cedar. The relay throw will be late. Ryan Braun off the bench makes this a 1-run ball game.
Well, walks have been a big part of the story here tonight. And both come back to bite Strop. He'd only walked 1 man so far this year coming into this ball game. Braun, this is what he's been doing lately, driving the ball to right field with authority. Off to a real good start is Ryan Braun. Brought a 7-game hitting streak into this game. He was 16 out of his last 30 with 4 home runs. Had he taken a more aggressive turn of second base, he could have gotten to third base on that throw home.
Low and outside on a slider to Santana, so they've got a couple of shots here to tie it up. With that runner at second base. The pitch. There's a home run swing, 1-1.
This one got uncomfortable in a hurry, didn't it?
Sure did. Here's Travis Wood in the bullpen.
3-run lead. He handed the ball to Strop in the 8th. A night like tonight. Let's take a look at Ryan Braun rounding second base. For me, he just, he's looking back over his shoulder. He broke it down a little early. If he takes a wider turn of second base, he might have been able to get to third with that throw coming to the plate. Had he done so, Joe Madden would have been forced to bring the infield in.
Strop really wanted it. 2-2.
Looked like it could be 0-4. It's a strike.
Braun runs to third, and the ball is tapped foul. Another 2-2. This time he got him. I don't know if that slider was where Strop wanted it, but it worked.
Classic case of an RBI situation and a hitter being a little overly anxious. This slider backs way up on him. Previous one did too, but it stayed in the zone. This time it drifts up and in. He gets the swing through from Santana.
So Grimm up for, I think, the 3rd time. Well, yeah, I haven't seen him throw yet.
Leadoff walk, wild pitch. Those sliders backing up on him. I think that's got everybody on high alert in the Cub dugout. Yeah, and Joe's going to make the move here.
The switch hitter VR. So they'll turn him around to the right side as left-hander Travis Wood comes in, and we'll be right back. The Hyundai call to the pen, and here's left-hander Travis Wood.
10th appearance for Wood, but a lot of times it's just for a hitter or two at a time. See 5 in the 3rd innings of work so far through 9 appearances. It's been good work. He's been scored on in just one of his outings. The Rockies got him. It's 3 times on the road trip, a scoreless inning on Sunday. 1-2-3 with a couple of strikeouts.
So VR will now bat right-handed with Braun at second. 2 outs, 8th inning, 4-3 Cubs. Swing and a miss. Popped him up. Zobrist calling for it. He's got it, and the inning is over. So Wood gets out of it after 2 score against Strop. 4-3 Cubs in the 8th. Walsh is now playing second after batting for Rivera. New pitcher is Michael Blazek, and a first pitch curve for a strike on pinch hitter Matt Caesar. Bunted foul. Limited action, but an excellent start for Matt. 0-2 foul. Base hit left field. An 0-2 single for Caesar.
Man, how about the bench tonight?
Time now for our Binny's Toast of the Game. It's presented by Binny's Beverage Depot, and Addison Russell plating 2 in a 1-1 game with a triple that made it 3-1 in the 6th. Binny's Beverage Depot is the official champagne provider of the Chicago Cubs. Here he is.
Baez stayed in the game after he hit, so he's in the 9 hole. Next is Ross and then Baez. A lot of options for Joe Madden. You could put on a sacrifice bunt here, play a little hit and run. More likely, just kind of let Russell do his thing. If he doesn't come through, Caesar could try to steal that base for you. Not during this at bat, during the Ross AB. Joe consults his matrix of outcomes. He's got this card with all the potential matchups, pitcher hitter matchups, and how likely they are to hit the ball on the ground, in the air. You know, if he sees strong tendency for ground ball here, then he will change his thinking a little bit. Information that Joe has at his disposal.
He's trying to join the White Sox, the 15-win club. Nationals lost at home to the Phillies, so they're 14-5. 4-3 the final. Phillies are 10-10. People thought they might be the worst team in the league. To short, VR, and they get the out at second. What a play by the shortstop and Walsh on that short hop throw.
A second ball VR, second play tonight he has made where he has displayed those quick feet. Most guys are going to play this one on the backhand. He shuffles over there and kind of gets in front of it. It's an awkward throw. Nice pick by Walsh. Caesar with a good, hard, aggressive slide. And if he goes through the base and loses contact with the base, they could rule a double play there.
Yeah, and they did against the Astros on, I think it was a Colby Rasmus slide against Milwaukee earlier this season that ended the ball game. So here's Ross, 0 for 2 with a sac bunt. And a strike call. Andrew McCutchen has 3 home runs tonight for the Pirates, who lead at Colorado 8-4 in the bottom of the 6th. Cardinals are in Arizona leading 2-0, top 5 in that one. Reds lost in New York. Mets 4, Reds 3. 3-run homer by Yoenis Cespedes in that game.
They must come back late, eh? It was 3-0 there.
He tied it with the homer. There was a pinch hit home run in the 7th. David Wright had the game-winning RBI. Ross punches that one in the right. And Russell will stop at second. 2 hits in the inning.
Victor Rondon wouldn't mind a little extra breathing room when he takes the mound in the 9th.
First and second, 1 out. Baez needed time. He had something in his eye. What about a bunt? Pulled it back, took ball 1.
Okay.
No.
Whatever gets you through the night.
And on television. One and two.
Pulled off. Big base hit off the bench, pinch hit knock to lead off the 7th, and that creative move at second base to get the steal. Remember, that was the reviewed play.
Baez is gone. 2 outs. Time for the hefty home run leaderboard. Anthony Rizzo leading the way on this Cubs team with 8. Chris Bryant has 4. Dexter Fowler has hit for a lot of power. He's got 3. Russell and Soler each have 2.
Dexter has not reached tonight. That's very rare this year.
Brandon Moss just hit a big home run. The Cardinals put up 5 on Shelby Miller in the 5th. 5-0. They lead the Diamondbacks. Miller had to play left field the other day in extra innings.
Did he get any action out there?
I think the game-winning hit went over his head, although I don't believe it was a playable ball. Zach with a 1-1. He's got the advantage now, 1-2.
Assessing Dexter Fowler's improvement, especially from the left side of the plate, Joe Madden talks about the fact that he's not drifting as much, a tendency to kind of drift toward the pitch and kind of get his weight way out in front, then the hands would drag. Much better balance now.
It's full with Hayward on deck. Runners will go with 2 outs. The 3-2, he walked him, and they're loaded up for Hayward. Again, it's Derek Johnson, the pitching coach. So looking at that chat clock, we'll call it. It was at about 15 seconds when he reached the mound. Started at 30 when he left the dugout. And already Larry Vanover is out there to tell him time's up. He's still talking, and the clock has expired. So I think it's more of a suggestion than it is anything else.
Yeah, I think if nothing else, it's just a prompt for the umpire too. He sees that clock ticking down to go out there and hurry things along. Now, I guess if a pitching coach was a habitual breaker of the rule or an abuser of the clock, maybe it would be subjected to fines.
3 Cubs on base, 2 outs as they try to add some insurance, up by a run. Hayward takes ball 1. Will field. Blazek at the bag, and the inning is over. Cubs leave the bases loaded. Hector Rondon will try to close them out in the ninth, leading 4-3.
John Lester for the Cubs, Zach Davies for the Brewers. Coverage starts at 12:30 with Cubs pregame live presented by Fields Auto right here on CSN Chicago.
There's Hector Rondon. He's got 3 saves, 5 appearances, 1 inning each, and only 1 hit allowed so far this season.
He hadn't walked a man and 10 strikeouts. So dominant stuff so far from Hector.
Very consistent too, JD. 10 to 13 pitches in each of those outings.
He just hasn't had many chances, even with all the winning, because there haven't been that many close games. This is a bit of an outlier here, protecting this 1-run lead in the 9th.
He's only faced more than 3 hitters in an inning once, and that was 4 batters faced as he gave up 1 hit in St. Louis. So I mean, he's been as close to perfect as it gets without actually retiring everybody. And having said that, he's 3-0 on Lucroy.
He just kind of fell out of his delivery there, flew open a little bit on that one. And it's always a little tougher in a 1-run game when you think one swing of the bat could tie the ball game. It's a tough assignment for a right-handed hitter to do that here tonight. The guy on deck could certainly hit it through that breeze.
Strike called. Yeah, that's Carter on deck. Wind is still blowing pretty hard, but not quite as vociferously as it was about 3 hours ago.
Just in the middle of the way and down fastball.
The 3-2. He comes all the way back to strike him out. How about that start? 1 away.
Yeah, great job bouncing back. And this time he elevates it. I don't think by design, but he slipped it right by him.
Yeah, based on the profile here of Chris Carter's career, I don't think he's going to think about the conditions in a 1-run game. Probably going to see at least 1 swing here for Waveland. Hayward is over and will not have a play. One and 2. Neuenhuis on deck.
Little hiccup by Stroke tonight. Rest of the pen has been good.
Baez, 2 down.
Warren and then Wood, who came in to bail Strope out last inning.
Pitch. He held 2-0. a base hit, so Neuenhuis keeps the Brewers alive for at least one more batter, and it will be Aaron Hill.
Neuenhuis has not been much of a base stealer in his major league career.
Pitch to Hill is fouled. Short lead by Neuenhuis. Here's a pitch. Called strike 2.
Hill hasn't displayed it this year, but he has extra base power.
Fly ball hit to deep left. In the corner, Bryant's got it. Cubs win. Cubs win. Had to hold your breath for a second. I don't know if the wind knocked it down, but it doesn't matter. The ball game is over. 4-3 Cubs.
We've been talking about the effect of that wind all night long. Mistake pitch there as they tried to go down and away, and the fastball drifted up in the zone for Hill. Put a pretty good swing on it, but not on this night.
Start to the homestand. After all those blowout games in Cincinnati, Cubs play a barn burner here on a frigid night on the north side. And again, a stretch beginning tonight of 16 of 19 at home. And they improve on the year to 10 games over 500 through 20. How about that?
Yeah, and then they've won 13 of their last 14 against this Milwaukee team. It's been a constant theme of ours here in the early going about, relatively soft early season schedule. Well, you still have to play the games. You have to take advantage of it, and the Cubs have certainly done that.
9-2 against their own division. And they have won 15 and dropped only 5 through the first 20 games. The guy who had the game-winning hit is standing by with our Kelly Crow.
That's right, Lynn. Well, 2 out, 2 on there in the 6th, and a big triple from you. Walk us through that at bat against Torres.
Just wanted to see something straight. He gave me something straight. It was middle of the zone. I didn't try to do too much and just hit in the gap.
Addison, you've driven in 10 runs in the last 12 games. I know when we talked this offseason, that was an area you wanted to improve on. What have you done differently with your approach in that situation?
Just going pitch to pitch, really. Just staying in tune with the game and just knowing the situation, really.
Okay, be honest with us. How much more tolerable is the cold when you have 15 wins now on the season?
It makes it pretty awesome. Makes it pretty awesome.
All right, Addison, thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Guys, Addison Russell with 2 big hits tonight.
Kelly, thank you. Good stuff, and the Cubs will go get warm in that beautiful new clubhouse. Join us here on CSN 12:30 for our pregame coverage this Thursday for the series finale as the Cubs host these Brewers. Now for JD and our entire crew here at Wrigley Field, I'm Len Casper. Your final score, Cubs 4, Brewers 3, and make sure you stay tuned for Blue Cross Blue Shield Cubs post-game live from the Toasty Studio next.